Well, good afternoon, Tampa Bay community. I am so happy that I was able to safely distance and Zoom record a conversation with Dr. Michael Whitworth, a local physician and I would say an absolute Facebook phenomenon, a person that many of us in a COVID-19 group on Facebook have come to rely on and share accurate information from a real medical professional. So Michael, thank you so much for joining me Sunday afternoon when you got home so we could get this recorded and get it out this week. Please tell me a little bit about how you got started.
In March of 2020, when the pandemic became evident that it would affect America, I could see that we needed to be on top of the information that was being put out. And there was a lot of misinformation at that time, some of which was coming from the CDC and from the FDA. It was very perplexing to me to see the differences in mask recommendations coming out, and they seem to be changing. I know the Surgeon General, Jerome Adams. I have worked with him in the past when I was living in Indiana. And so it seemed to me very strange that he would be making some of these recommendations at that time, which was not to wear masks, except if you are a first line provider or if you are a physician working in a hospital. So I began collecting information and realized in the Tampa Bay area, there was really not an outlet for production of this information in a cohesive manner. So I decided at that point that I would begin collecting data, and shortly thereafter, the website came out from the state, from the Department of Health, that allowed us to start putting together some statistics on COVID. Initially, they were very sparse, and before the website came out, I was collecting statistics from newspapers all over the state and from other sources, but putting them together was really a challenge in the early days. So I was able to use the Department of Health website and subsequently their national feed to Johns Hopkins University to develop a set of data that we've had cohesively published now for 300 days effectively. And these data have been invaluable to me because I can go back and look at what trends were happening at different points in time, depending on what was going on with the rest of the United States and comparing it to other counties within the state. I have focused on Tampa Bay, in particular the 4 counties, Pasco, Pinellas, Manatee, and Hillsborough. And I track now several statistics from those 4 counties on a daily basis and put out several reports. So it's been a work that I thought would be a very short-term thing, but here we are 300 days out and counting.
And I don't ever see you take a break. I think when every time I refresh, you've put something new there for us to look at and go by. And certainly, as a mom of teenage boys, one going to school in Hillsborough County and one in Pinellas, both in private schools, I have to say, where some of the rules are a little bit easier to enforce, I think, and some of the communication is perhaps a little different, although I think you agree too that schools might not be the exact problem. But those PEDS charts are definitely really helpful when encouraging your teenage sons to stay home or simplify who they thought they were going with or what they were going to do, as well as scaring the hell out of the people that I'm with that are over 65. So I often copy, paste, share. I think I've said in a different setting, maybe a different interview, that dealing with your parents, loving your parents over 65 and your teenagers under 16 during a pandemic is an interesting place to be. And I know there's been a lot of people that I share your information with that go, okay, we need to do this with this one and this with that one. I haven't looked recently. Do you know what the following is of your group on Facebook?
We have about 4,800, I believe, at this point in time that are listed as followers. And you never know how many active people there are following the group, but that's how many members we have. And it it varies. It goes up and down a little bit.
And would you have a high and a low? I know that people do compliment you and thank you for your information. I know some people question it. How's it going for you personally?
Well, personally, I've received my first vaccination, and so I'm now awaiting with a little bit of trepidation my second one, because some of my colleagues are reporting that they are having some side effects with it, but most of them are having side effects that last only 24 hours. So I have my second vaccination scheduled at 6:30 in the morning, and I don't go back to work until 6:30 the next morning. So I'm hopeful that all of those side effects will have gone away. And not everybody is getting side effects from this. There are some people who are reporting 0 side effects from the second injection, and then some who are having some interesting effects that are not really allergies, but they are a wide array of side effects that are associated. Some of which, though, land them flat on their back for about a day. So even the place where I am getting my vaccinations, they have asked us to take a day off or schedule it around a day of vacation so that it doesn't disrupt the workload that we have.
Yes, no rest for the weary for all of you frontline workers that have been at this for so long, as well as, you be careful what you let us know about how you're feeling, because you could have 4,000 of us show up at your door with matzo ball soup and try to fix you. So it might just be 24 hours that you could keep to yourself and have some peace without all of us peppering you with questions. Have you experienced any harsh criticism that you weren't expecting by what you've done and the information you've shared?
Well, I think there has been some criticism, and it's more on the finer points of the statistics, because they are statistics and they can be interpreted in different ways. And I recognize that. And I recognize there's an array of politics that have become intertwined with the reporting of all of these statistics over this period in particular. And we've tried to avoid the politics as much as possible and eliminate those from the website. And I'm every day going through and removing comments, and in some situations actually removing people when they can't be controlled, because we are trying to make it apolitical.
Yes, there's a babysitting aspect to hosting a Facebook group page where you have to remind everyone how to behave or simply remove them. I had that a little bit on my mask page too, and I was like, we're all here just trying to make masks for people who need them. Let's not get rowdy now.
Exactly. It is a blessing, though, to be able to put out all of this information. And I also intersperse many of the scientific articles that I come upon. And I'm hopeful that people are taking these scientific articles as they come out and recognize that the science is a evolving, moving target. It's not a absolute, as we saw with Jerome Adams and his recommendations early on not to wear a mask. Well, then shortly thereafter, he came out and recommended masks. And he even started doing videos on how to properly wear the masks. So science is not an absolute, but it does change and wax and wane depending on what information that we have available and the degree of the validity of that information. So we're always looking at all the sources of information and trying to decide which ones are the most valid or which ones are just hype. And we're trying to get rid of those on the website that really don't have a scientific basis associated with them.
The first rule of science being that your nose is connected to your lungs, right? So you have to cover your nose and your mouth with a mask.
Absolutely.
That's my favorite one.
Well, and masking, even after vaccination, will still be necessary. And that is, that's something that I believe a lot of people that are associated with this website understand, that getting the vaccine does not protect you from getting the virus. It just simply means the virus is going to be less severe, but it also has a potential hidden caveat associated with it, and that is that effectively we who have been vaccinated may be so asymptomatic when we do contract the virus that we don't even know we have it. And then we ultimately are spreading the virus to others. So it is still important to wear the mask at this point in time based on what science we have. Now that may change once we get more statistics as more people become vaccinated. But the science right now is that we still have to wear the mask to protect others.
Absolutely. And what would you say about where we are today, January 10th, in the Tampa Bay area?
In terms of?
Just in terms of the virus in general, in terms of numbers. I know the percent positive's high. Is it the highest it's been?
We've had spurious times where it has been high, but we've had a sustained escalation in the percent positives. And that's a bit concerning. On the other hand, we're not nearly as high as California or Arizona right now, they're in dire straits. They're running out of ICU beds, they're running out of oxygen and oxygen tanks, that is. The expressways in California have always been short of oxygen, but the tanks themselves are in short supply right now. We don't have any of those problems, and I track in one of the reports I do, the hospital and ICU report every morning, where we're looking at the actual numbers of ICU beds available in each county and how many hospitals have no beds. And I've been tracking that for many, many months now. And I've seen a little bit of pressure on the ICUs, but nothing anywhere close to what California and Arizona and other parts of the Midwest, North Dakota, for instance, are experiencing. So we're in okay shape. I wouldn't say we're in great shape because the numbers have been going up in terms of the new cases. Our hospitalization rate is going up, but it is not going up as high as the new cases are. And then our death rate seems to be relatively constant over a long period of time. And I think that is attributing part of that to the changes that we've had in our therapy in the hospitals. We've totally changed the way we do things. We used to bring people into the hospital and we would immediately intubate them once their oxygen saturation levels dropped to a low level. And now we are much more permissive and use other methods that we did not use initially, like high flow nasal oxygen at 50 liters per minute, which is far more than you can get from any wall outlet in a hospital. They have to have special oxygen tanks that are actually brought into the rooms to deliver that much oxygen. But we've been able to keep people off of the ventilators and using dexamethasone and some of the other therapies, proning people. This seems to have made a great difference. And again, we had never dealt with COVID before. It is indeed a new virus. And so we really didn't know how to deal with this back in March, but we have much more experience with it now, and subsequently our death rates are better overall. Still very concerning because a death rate of 0 would be the optimal. But we're working toward that goal.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for the time you've put in person and on Facebook to keep people informed. I know that I see every now and then people are sharing back and forth, sharing with a couple other probably virtual colleagues of yours, perhaps even other physicians that you don't know, but in person, I know that I've been teasing Richard Paula back and forth that we're going to have a Friendsgiving. I was joking last spring saying, oh, by Thanksgiving, we'll all be together and we're going to have a Friendsgiving. I had to send him a pie. So we were not in person. We've never actually met. We just know people in common, much like you and I. But I do think that, one of the things I think is really, really important to understand in life is that relief from anxiety generally comes from being able to talk to someone who's gone through what you're going through. And in this day and age with COVID and this strain of the virus being something that no one's truly been all the way through yet, we've had to rely on one another for so many different forms of communication, information, and support. And it's been so interesting to watch. I wish I wasn't watching you anymore, but I don't see an end in sight just yet. What would you share with the people who are watching, anything beyond mask, hand washing, and distancing, as well as signing up for vaccines, that can help? Or what's the best way to continue to support our medical, first responders and frontline workers? I say by staying home, but I want to hear from you.
Well, certainly all of those features are very, very helpful. And we have noticed that, especially over Christmas and Thanksgiving, that we had a lapse in that nationwide, and in Florida also. And we have had some relatively large increases in our numbers throughout the month since Christmas. But then on the other hand, it didn't get as high as I thought it would in Florida, which is great. I'm thankful for that. I think just being patient and recognizing that there will be a time where we'll be able to go to movie theaters again. I used to go to the movie theaters once a week. I was there every week. I had one of the AMC passes, and I was an avid fan of movies. I terribly miss that. I miss going to the gym, but at this point in time, at my age, I'm not about to go into a gym yet. But maybe in a couple of months, that might be a possibility. But just be patient. We're heading in the right direction, even in the midst of this increase in the pandemic. With the vaccine being out there, the time that we will be able to return to maybe not a completely normal, but a more normal life is going to be approaching rapidly. And probably by the summer, I think we'll see some huge differences in the numbers that we're experiencing right now.
Great. Well, we look forward to it. And on behalf of DuPont Registry Tampa Bay and all of your friends and followers in the Facebook community and everyone working alongside of you, thank you so much. You are truly a gift to so many of us, a great conversation starter. Like, let's look up what Michael had to say for us today. And I really sincerely appreciate all you've done and look forward to meeting you in person. So thank you.
You too. Thank you so much.
And please stay well. I want you to go to the gym to be healthy, but I need you for your numbers. So take care of yourself and know that so many of us are thinking of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take good care.